I am your host, Nate Tice. Today, we're going to be talking about some second-year players, some rookies. We got a handful of superlatives that, not just because I want to say the word superlative, I actually just want to talk about these things and talk about these players. To help me do that today, I have the great draft expert from The Athletic, Dane Brugler. How are you doing today, Dane?
I'm doing well. We have college football this weekend, so it's week 0. Why is week 0 a thing? I don't know
We've
how that.
accepted it.
Yeah, right. It just became part of the football world somehow. But there's not any good games. I mean, Notre Dame at Navy. USC has their home opener, but it's on Pac-12 Network, so no one's gonna be watching that.
Nope.
It's going to have football on TV, but the real action won't start until week 1, a week from this weekend with Labor Day, which it's going to crush with all the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just 5 straight days of some football action. So it'll be a lot of fun. But top 50 comes out this week, so
I was going to say that's the real holiday. Honestly, it's the college football week 1 is always hilarious because that is, I mean, it's just like NFL week 1. It's just overreactions.
Right. Overreactions galore.
Yes, everybody's back. This guy's going to win the Heisman. Ooh, we got a new number 1 pick potentially. Just every type of hype that you can hear. That's what we're going to hear in a couple of weeks.
It's better than preseason overreactions, though. I will say that. I'm getting a little tired of the overreactions at every single game, at every single. It's ready for some games, ready for some action.
We'll probably talk about a few of these rookies, and it's probably none of the ones that we've seen Twitter hype up over the last couple of weeks. That it's like everybody's guy. That, I mean, I'm guilty of it. It's like, man, one good play that I just watched, and it's just like, yep, Hall of Fame, Canton, write it right now. That 7th round rookie that I had a 4th round grade on. Yep, he's an all-star. He's going to be great for the next decade. But what we're going to do today, speaking of rookies and speaking of guys getting hyped up, we're going to dive into some second-year players and rookies. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through some categories. I hit this at the top of the show, but we're going to talk about players with the most to prove, players that ready to take a big step for second-year players that had a better rookie season than maybe we realized, a first-round rookie that we're most excited to watch, and then a non-first-round rookie who can make the biggest impact this year. And we're going to go division by division. I think going team by team might, take a while. And also it might, some teams don't have first round rookies or players that are interesting. So it's a nice way to kind of bucket this. To start, we'll jump right into the AFC East. A very competitive division. Also some teams that have kind of a grab bag of kind of interesting rookies and second year players and guys that can make an impact or already had make an impact if you're talking about the Jets. So just to start us off, AFC East, I'm going to go to you, Dane. Second-year players with the most to prove in the AFC East. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with cornerback Kyrie Elam of the Buffalo Bills. He was a first-round pick, someone the Bills traded up for, and he doesn't have a starting job locked up. So, he played a lot last year as a rookie, often way too frenetic, wasted steps, not trusting his technique. Some of the processing issues are there, and that's why I had a second-round grade on him coming out. I liked him, but I wasn't, top 25 on Kyrie Elam. He had some nice moments, especially in the playoffs last year. But even this preseason, it's been a little rocky, and it sounds like Dane Jackson's the leader to start opposite Trey White, and Jackson's fine. Even Christian Benford, who held his own as a late-round rookie last year, is fine. But if you're Buffalo, you plan on being a Super Bowl contender, right, as long as you have Josh Allen, right? And on defense, you run more nickel looks than any other team in the league. You need depth at corner. You need your early round picks, specifically your first round picks to hit. And with Elam, there's just a ton that he needs to prove here in year 2.
Yeah. Elam was my answer as well, because I liked him. I'm really not much to add here because I had a second round grade on him as well. I really compared him to maybe Carlton Davis as his upside, kind of
exactly
like physical, aggressive, maybe a little too handsy at times. I also liked him at kind of like intangible as well. Like he seemed like a good teammate and everything at Florida. And there's some aspects of that I really liked, but also when you get into that Bills situation, Trey White was hurt last year and, he's on for most of the year and then came on the end of the year once he got healthy. It's like Elam was supposed to come in and just be the number 2. You're just supposed to be a good number 2 corner. And the fact that there's some issues and some struggles there so far. I'll just say inconsistencies, because like you said, there are some flashes, but then there's been some bad. So, but the fact where the Bills are at right now, it's nice that then maybe they have depth in name. Hey, it's a competition. The guy that doesn't win, we have depth now. So that is nice to have, but you also don't take a guy in the first round for depth. You take him to be a plus player. So I'm right there with you. Where the Bills, their aspirations, there's a true Super Bowl contender. They need guys like this to step up just to, make sure that defense can stay a top tier unit. So Elam's my answer. And if it weren't Elam, it'd be Terrell Bernard, their linebacker they drafted in the 3rd round.
Okay.
It's like these two guys, like these are names that need to step up this year for the Bills if they want to take the leap that they want to take.
Well, no, it's funny because we see Elam exactly the same. The final line of my report on him, Elam needs to tidy up his timing and processing issues. He's a good-sized athlete, natural cover talent, NFL-ready intangibles. He compares favorably to Tampa Bay's Carlton Davis. He's coming out of Auburn. So, I mean, we're right there. Exactly.
No, but that's why I liked him, because I was like, I don't see the high-ended traits with him, but I just thought he was physical and he was just, an aggressive player. And I feel like you can
4'3" athlete.
Down.
Yeah. I mean, he's got size, physicality. So no doubt. And Bernard's a good shout out too. He's somewhat, obviously that defense looks a little bit different with Edmonds no longer there. And so Matt Milano, obviously, he's a good player, really good player, but there's going to be a lot on his shoulders. What other linebackers are going to step up? I think you could point to both of the Patriots' first 2 picks from the 2022 class, 2 players that I think you and I would probably agree were drafted maybe a little bit earlier than they should have. Cole Strange in the 1st round. He was very up and down last year at left guard. And then Tyquan Thornton, who played in 13 games last season, but he managed only more than 40 receiving yards in just one of those games. And so you take into account who was drafted after him as well. George Pickens, Alec Pierce, Sky Moore. That's 3 of the 4 picks after he was drafted. So a little bit of pressure on Thornton to become at least someone the Patriots can consider, someone they can count on, someone that can be reliable. I mean, I wouldn't say that he has to be a weapon. I mean, I think the Patriots wish he could grow into that, but just to take a positive step to show that it's just not another wasted 2nd round pick.
Right. And another wasted receiver pick, skill position pick, I should say. Cole Strange is going to be my answer for the next category, but I think Tyquan Thornton, though, I totally agree. It's even the guys that you just listed, George Pickens and Alec Pierce, they're the same type of player in a way, the vertical X. Thornton has track speed, Pierce can roll, and then Pickens is a little slower, but he has great ball skills. But it's like that type of player is what they're going after. So even it's like, that's the thing. It's like, and you're going into that tier of player, and you kind of went with Thornton, who really was, I mean, he had a great Shrine Week. Like, he was absolutely dominant during the Shrine Week when I saw him. I even was like, end 3rd, maybe early 4th on him, because I could see the verticalness, and he was a little tougher, even though he weighed 170 something pounds. How tall he is. So I'm with you on Thornton. So I already spoiled it a little bit, but let's get to the next category, which is 2nd-year players ready to take a big step. So this guy, it could be one that maybe showed flashes their rookie year that we want to see come from that, could show nothing, could already been a good player, and we want to just see him maybe ascend on the national landscape. That's how I looked at it anyway. So I'll just give mine right away. It's Cole Strange, who you already mentioned as a guard. Saw some positive flashes, but also saw some struggles. I'm just hoping with some competence at offensive coordinator, even though most of the coaches are the same there, just some calmness with that offense that he can maybe take a step forward this year. And good athlete, actually had a little bit tested really well, but even plays with a little pop. But again, his eyes were all over the place. You can tell NFL speed was a little bit different. So just spoiling my answer, I'll get it out of the way. But who'd you have for this category, Dan?
Yeah, and I mean, coming from Chattanooga, FCS, but he played well against in the Senior Bowl. He had good tape against Kentucky's final year. So I think he has it, but it's a learning curve for him. For me, I went with James Cook, running back for the Bills. The Bills were a little bit of a feast or famine rushing team last year. They ranked 25th in the league in running back EPA, but they were 2nd in the NFL in rushes of 20-plus runs. So it's no secret they want to be a little bit more balanced. And James Cook, he's now at the top of that depth chart. And even with adding Damian Harris, Latavius Murray this offseason, it always felt like Cook they're going to give him the chance to be the guy. And of the 7 backs last year, rookie running backs who had at least 100 carries, Cook finished first with 5.3 yards per carry. I think we really like his receiving talent.
Receiving,
That was the kind of the main attraction coming out of Georgia was how he could be one of the best pass catching backs in the league pretty early into his career. Plus now he's in the same division as his older brother, Dalvin.
Right.
So that should be a lot of fun too. So interested to see James Cook. Can he be that breakout that the Bills are hoping he can be?
Yeah, and Ken Dorsey, his teammates, Latavius Murray even said it, I think, too, where they're like, he's a 3-down back. Like, and we expect him to be that. He's not just a scat back, a receiving type. It's while he can do that, he's got juice. That's just the best way to put it. Like he just like his brother, he can take a lot of runs. He can hit a lot of doubles, a lot of home runs, and he also can catch some balls. He also, this preseason, he's not perfect. He's not, I wouldn't even say he's even good. But he has improved already in pass protection, which was a huge thing that I was worried about with him and with his brother coming out originally too. And already showed flashes of improving there, which is huge because that's why they have Latavius Murray there. Latavius Murray is he is a designated pass protector. He is a bodyguard for the quarterback type and then just get some tough yards, maybe in short yardage, and Damian Harris. But the fact that if James Cook can really take up that role, that's more touches, more reps, more snaps. So totally get it. I think he's ready. He's primed for a big role this year. And I think he'll take it and run with it.
He's only 200 pounds. So, how many carries, how many touches will he get in that offense? That'll be something that's really interesting to track. I also wanted to shout out, as kind of an honorable mention here, wide receiver Eric Uzukama for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
He's done some nice things this preseason. He was pretty rough as a route runner coming out of Texas Tech, but
bit of a tweener, maybe.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But you like his toughness, you like his ball tracking skills. It's just, do you have to manufacture touches for him to get open? If Waddle or Tyreek Hill, if they miss any time with injury, you might be able to see more of him. So I don't know that he qualifies necessarily as a true breakout candidate, but just a guy that, could be on the radar as someone that could make a little bit of noise this year in year 2.
Yeah, he kind of hit the ground running a little better than I thought he would as a rookie. Like I thought he was going to be a practice squad candidate type, figure out what position he is because he's a bigger body, if I remember correctly. And it was just how are we going to use them? But no, that's a great shout out because he had a good preseason game. I think in the last game might have been the Falcons game, but one of them I watched, he did stand out. So that's a great call. But this is the last second year player category for the AFC East. Will be second year player who had a better first year, better rookie year than most people realized, or one that maybe just went under the radar. Do you have anyone that comes to mind right there for this category?
Yeah, I could make an easy argument that Michael Clemens, the Jets defensive lineman, was the best defensive player drafted on day 3 from that 2022 class. He was a key role player that helped make the Jets defensive line so productive. He had the same number of sacks as Jermaine Johnson, who was the first round pick. And Clemens isn't really a pass rusher. He is one of the best run defenders from this rookie class. So I think Michael Clemens is a guy that is part of what makes that Jets front seven so productive, that the depth that he offers. We'll see probably more snaps this year. So he was my answer. I also wanted to give a shout out to Kader Kohu for the Dolphins.
Yeah. What'd you think about him? Because they're gonna give him some run this year. So what'd you think about him?
Well, and he played a major role in Miami secondary last year. I mean, mostly in the slot. He literally saw the most targets of any defensive player in the NFL last season. He was number 1, and so he gave up his fair share of catches. But only gave up 1 touchdown. And this guy, he's 5'10", 190 pounds. Coming out of Texas A&M Commerce, he was not a guy that you thought, all right, draftable player, and he went undrafted for a reason. But seeing him on the field, going back and looking at some of the snaps, he's instinctive. He's so alert, so aware of route concepts and just different combinations. And it really helps him make plays. So I think he was a little bit better than most people realize.
That's a great shout out. And because he's going to probably have a role again this year. And it's a guy that until we did this offseason process, once we do the division previews and top 10 defenses, top 10 offense, all these shows, I really never studied him. I never studied him coming out of college. And then I studied him finally a little bit. There's something there. Like, it's like, that's a
Right.
player. Like, and I think that is a great shout out though. I'm glad you gave him a little tout though, because he's an interesting dude, and that the Dolphins are gonna have a lot of eyes on him this year. So he's
Right.
definitely gonna definitely get some recognition, good and bad. I'm gonna go with another day 3 player, and I'm gonna go with another DB, but I'm gonna go with Jack Jones, the corner
Mm,
for the Patriots, 4th rounder. Um, might be missing a few games this year because he
yeah.
doesn't understand the firearm rules at the airport. But technically only started 2 games, but he played over half the snaps last year. But there's some noise with these stats, but you can kind of give a nice kind of spot. What's the word I'm looking for? A lot nice kind of like general idea of how a guy did in defense and pass coverage with looking at completion percentage while targeted or QB rating. Just kind of, it can be a little noisy, but I think in a system that the Patriots run, that makes sense because there's so much man coverage and so much stuff on the outside where they have to lock down a guy. But last year, among all corners, all not just rookies, but just all NFL corners, Jack Jones ranked 12th among corners in QB rating while targeted. The next highest corner was Jair Alexander at 11th. And then completion percentage, he ranked 16th. So 89th percentile among all defenders. And he was sandwiched in between Sauce Gardner, Tyson Campbell, and Trey White. Those were all the corners that were around him. So notable names, and maybe there is some truth with the completion percentage because those are all top players that are ranking high. So I'm kind of like, okay, maybe there's something here. But honestly, he's a little undersized, but he's quick. He had good instincts and good ball skills. A fun player to watch. The Patriots defense is fun in general. So that's a guy that had a better rookie year, especially for a day 3 corner playing in that defense and having that much of an effect. So another guy, better first year. Once he gets back on the field, another guy to keep an eye on, especially with that Patriots defense.
Oh yeah, and I feel like we've been hearing about Jack Jones for a long, long time. You go back to because he was in college for like 6 years because
Yeah.
he started off at USC and had a great sophomore year, led the team in interceptions, got into some trouble, went the JUCO route, resurfaced at Arizona State. He's small and he's not very fast. He's average speed for a corner. Relative to most NFL corners,
Yeah.
but man, he's a dog. I mean, he's got that in him where
Nose for the ball. Just
oh
one of
yeah,
those guys.
he
Yeah.
won't back down. So no, you're right. He had a really productive rookie year, especially in the first 2 months of the season. I just hope he stays on the field.
Stays on the field.
That's the thing. That's the thing with Jack Jones because he is a NFL worthy player that can start, and you just hope he stays on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, I know. And other player, and this guy got pub. It's not like he's that under the radar, but he got hurt. And I just want to re-mention him as Brees Hall because he was on a rookie of the year path for the Jets. Just a really good player. And I just had a fun stat for him. And just for all players with 80 or more rushes last year, he finished second in success rate and first in EPA per rush. And he was looking really good before he got hurt. So hopefully he comes back healthy. So getting to the rookies now for this division, kind of an interesting first round class, but I'm going to start off with the first round rookie that you're most excited to watch in the AFC East.
Yeah, I feel we might say the same guy here. We gushed about this pick on draft night during our live show. Dalton Kincaid
Yep.
to the Bills. Yep. Look, by all accounts, it sounds like they want Kincaid to be a substantial part of the offense from day one. No team in the league played less 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends than the Bills. So how they use Dawson Knox and Kincaid's receiving skills, it's going to be really interesting. All I know, Kincaid, he's going to see a lot of action, and it shouldn't be a surprise when he ranks top 3 on this team in targets. Okay. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch how they use him this year.
It's already through 2 preseason games. They've already are experimenting with where to use them at. It's been pretty cool. They already have them running choice routes, which means they're designing plays. And this is with the ones. This is with Josh Allen, the first O-line, everybody out there, and they're designing 3rd down plays for him already. And so it's like, okay, all systems go. And he looks good. I mean, he looks exactly how he looked in college, and they're figuring out how to use him as far as blocking wise. This is my answer too, obviously, but so they're realizing, okay, maybe not in line, but they're getting creative with it. Like they already had him in the backfield as a lead blocker, where it was like he actually did okay, where they're blocking linebackers and safeties as opposed to DNs. And that's the one area they're gonna have to figure out. But as a pass catcher, it's like he has all the makings already to make an instant impact.
As a route runner,
route runner,
ball
quickness.
skills, the catch radius, how quickly he goes from catcher to runner, like that transition is just seamless with him. So especially in the middle of the field, I mean, use it if you get matched up against a safety or even a linebacker, and take advantage of that. And so we're going to see it this year. It's just how his role and how they use him, how that evolves throughout the season, and how defenses change to account for him. It's going to be something that's just fascinating week to week.
It is. It's just the booster effect a guy like this can have, just like on every other things. Because then when defenses have to change their rules to guard certain guys, especially a guy like him, okay, well, we have to have a safety on him. We can't have a linebacker. Well, then you're not going to be in zone coverage. Like just certain things get taken away. And that's what he can do. That's the upside. But it's cool to see him even going against the Steelers defense that was playing their starters in the second preseason game. And he was like, yep, you look good. You do not look like a rookie in those routes. So he won on 2 choice routes already. So it was, he's going to be pretty interesting. I did think you were going to say Christian Gonzalez, just in case.
He was the honorable mention.
He's my honorable mention as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a guy that should not have lasted to the 17th pick. Young player, but just too many tools to work with. And a little bit, we talked about Jack Jones and the Patriots. They drafted a lot of smaller corners in that 2022 class. Where they get a guy like Christian Gonzalez, who's big, fast, a little more of that traits guy in the first round. So that'll be interesting to see how they use him.
Belichick doesn't always get guys like that at corners. Most of them are undrafted or day 3 guys. He had Stephon Gilmore back in the day, but it's like he doesn't get these types of guys. So I mean, I'm very interested to see him with the Patriots now. But the last one for the AFC East is, what's the non-first round rookie that can make the biggest impact in the AFC East?
So Buffalo has been my answer for 4 of the 5. So
they're gonna be mine as well.
I'm going Osiris Torrance. The Bills, I thought they got a gift with Torrance lasting until the 59th pick. I know some area scouts stamped him with first-round grades. He was a stud right guard in college. Sounds like he'll be the starting right guard for Buffalo when they open the season. 6'5", 330 pounds. Not the most mobile guy, but he's wide, he's thick, he's powerful. Didn't allow a sack in his college career. And so for a team, it's interesting. Buffalo is considered, I think, pretty universally a top 5 team in the league, a realistic Super Bowl contender.
Oh, yeah.
And they're counting on their first 2 draft picks as rookies to make a substantial impact. So it's just a really interesting storyline for this Buffalo offense that they're just have such expectations for their first round pick and second round pick as rookies.
This one, Osiris Torrance was my answer as well. And if I had to give out a mention, it'll be Keon White from the Patriots, defensive end, their second round pick. But with Torrance, he's had a good preseason. But with Torrance, it's like, I love the attitude shift as well. He is the opposite of a finesse guard. He is a power gap guard, like as to the epitome of one. Duo power. That's what they did at Florida, and he was good at it. I had them. I think I did a mock draft. They had taken him in the first round. So like you said, where it was a gift getting him in the second round. I absolutely agree with that. I just think it's a signal change of mindset for the Bills. I think he's already looked the part in preseason. He's looked better in pass protection than I was even anticipating, but he brings that just kind of nasty and that power and that strength in the interior of their offensive line, which I think they needed that mindset. And then he's like the epitome of that right then and there. So I think pretty easy tab. I know, just Bills players left and right for this category.
It is. I also did want to mention Cam Smith for the Dolphins. That secondary, Jalen Ramsey banged up a little bit. I mean, that secondary's it's going to be interesting how they use, who gets to start, who sees the most snaps, and how do they use them inside, outside. But Cam Smith should be making an impact pretty quickly as a rookie, a guy that, way too many penalties, way too aggressive. That's something that could maybe keep him off the field if that becomes an issue with the Dolphins. But he has the talent to start in this league. And so Cam Smith, what kind of usage and impact does he have for the Miami as a rookie?
No, that's definitely a good one, especially for aspirations the Dolphins have. Every team in this division, really. Moving on to another extremely talented division with a lot of interesting players. I'm going with the AFC North. And so let's just jump into the second-year players. So which second-year players to you have the most to prove in the AFC North, Dane?
Yeah, I really wanted to go with the kicker here with Cade York for the Browns because, he's a legit answer for this category. The Browns drafted him in the 4th round, and it's just been a roller coaster, even in the preseason.
Preseason.
And they have not brought in competition for him yet. but I mean, he's got to do better than 75%. I mean,
Protect the pick, Dane. Got to protect the pick.
I think they're just trying to protect his confidence. Yeah, I think they're afraid to bring in somebody in because they don't want to rock his confidence. They want him to fight through it and to see what he can do. Yeah. But I mean, if we're week 4 and he's missing a field goal that costs them the game, people will lose their jobs. And so they need to do something there. But no, I can't go with the kicker here. I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett, Steelers quarterback, because of the position he plays. You know, it's first only quarterback drafted in the first 73 picks in that class. He was fine as a rookie. You know, there were good moments of him moving the chains. Also had a lot of rookie mistakes. His adjusted completion percentage was near the bottom of the league last year. He had the same number of dropbacks as Kyler Murray, but Kyler had double the touchdown throws last year. So in a lot of metrics, Pickett's numbers were more in line with Carson Wentz, which is not ideal. But then again, he's a rookie. You know, bumps in the road.
Say Zach Wilson.
Yeah, well, Wilson was near the bottom in I think every category. Unfortunately,
that's what I mean. I know he's it's Mahomes usually at the top right every category, and then Zach Wilson bottom left. Yeah, they're the bookends.
Yeah, Pickett. It'll be interesting because he has done a nice job this preseason. He looks like he's seeing things quicker. You know, the reason he was a first-round pick, the football IQ, the accuracy. Especially from different platforms. That's why I feel strongly he's going to take a leap this year. But is it a big leap or is it just kind of a little jump? You know, that's kind of the big question that I have with him. And, you know, it's kind of that's why he has the most to prove. He plays quarterback. He's a first round pick. The Steelers plan on being contenders this year. So what does that jump look like? Is it just small? Is it moderate? Is it large? Because I think the Steelers will probably go as depending on what that jump is.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I had 2 just in case I want to see what you said. So Pickett was one of mine as well. And just what you're saying, also a better athlete than maybe I even gave him credit for. Like when he gets into creation, we talked about this on our AFC North preview pod, but getting to the edge and the corner when he's scrambling a little easier than I anticipated at the NFL level. And he has some juice in his arm and like you said, accuracy, like he hits all the benchmarks as far as traits. And I think it's just in that offense, he maybe has one hand tied behind his back with that system and what Matt Canada's passing concepts, but you could really see the plays that he was comfortable with. He was getting quicker with and getting better as he got more reps, which is so natural. And then on top of it, it's like, okay, I'm hoping to see maybe a next step for those passing concepts. But I think Pickett's a great answer for it because like you said, the Steelers have aspirations this year, especially with that defense. I totally get it. I'm going with Dax Hill, the safety for the Bengals, their first round pick last year. Bengals lost both of their safeties. Hill, they ask a lot of their safeties. He was in the system last year, but he didn't have to play a bunch because of what they had. So seeing what he brings to the table, I'm optimistic about it, but he has a lot to prove for a Bengals team that also is looking at themselves as, or not even just playoff team, but Super Bowl contenders. That really is the only question mark on that defense is him and Nick Scott, the other safety. And Robert and I were talking about this, but it's like he has to hit the ground running, because the rest of the team is hitting the ground running. So I am optimistic. I like Dax Hill, but I'm very curious to see how he does as a post safety or a deep safety in a system that asks a lot of their safeties.
No, and that's a great call. He was actually my answer for the next category.
Okay,
second year player rated breakout, because I mean they drafted him with the intention that, hey, Jesse Bates probably not back, not in the long term plan. So Dax Hill, sit as a rookie or not have to see substantial reps, but now, okay, hit the ground running. And it's his time to shine. And we saw the speed, the range in the preseason that was against the Packers when that clip went viral. It was the high safety cover one, made up a ton of ground, knocked down the pass at the sideline. I was a big Dax Hill fan coming out. He was, I think, a top 20 player for me overall in the class. So I love this versatility. I think the most, right? He could play deep. He could play the nickel. He was not shy laying licks in the run game. He could cover the slot. So he might not be the biggest in terms of just pure size, but he has the FBI. He has toughness. He has range. It's all above average in those areas. So I don't know. If he ends up leading the Bengals in interceptions this year, would it be a surprise? I don't think so. So to me, I think he does fit both categories. He was a first round pick. He's kind of being handed the keys here. There's a lot to prove, but I also think he fits the, players ready to break out. He kind of it's crossover for both these categories.
No, it makes total sense. I liked him a lot, and like you said, you mentioned the versatility was because of that when he was playing in the slot, it was
Hmm.
just saw coverage that he played against Wisconsin. He played really well against Wisconsin, so that was my first exposure to him. But you're talking about even the range and the deep end. Is there any comparisons between him and maybe Marcus Williams with the Ravens? Is there some kind of like because Marcus Williams has a lot of range and he's a good in the post and everything. So like that's I'm curious. I just want to see like that maybe might be the comparison if he is playing in the back end there. But it matters because even they have Mike Hilton, who's great in the slot. If he gets banged up, he's missed a lot of games. He's missed games every year. Hill can bump down there, and like you said, he has a football IQ where it might not. They can keep hitting the ground running. So I think that's a great choice. He just has a lot on him this year, and I think he's going to answer the call. I'm excited to see if he does. The second year player that I have ready to take a big leap is Travis Jones, defensive tackle for the Ravens, third rounder.
Yeah, I wrote him down too. Yep.
Okay, I know you're pretty high on him, right? Like
Oh
coming
yeah.
out, like
Yeah.
yeah. Only had 2 QB hits last year. You know, kind of rotational guy. Had some. I think he was banged up early in the year, but dominating this preseason, looking really good and looking. He had some, draft steam building up with him last year and kind of faded. I think some character concerns was the issue, but looking at him now, he is motivated. He's playing well. He's explosive. He's got some real juice at the snap of the ball. Strong. He's disruptive, surprisingly quick. Just a lot of the traits and mindset and play style that you want from your interior guys. And Ravens got him in the third round, and he definitely looks like a keeper. And I'm excited to see him with more playing time this year.
Yeah, no doubt. I had very similar grades on him as I did Jordan Davis, who was
Oh
drafted
wow,
much, much higher. And they're different types of players
yeah,
and things like that. But yeah, big fan of Travis Jones, of what he could be. Uh, Hopefully, yeah, he's the concerns that some teams had. Hopefully, that's not something that pops up at all this year and kind of blocks that potential that we think he has. But I'm glad you mentioned him. He's a name I wrote down. I wrote down George Pickens. I feel like everyone thinks he's going to be that
that's
breakout. So just had to mention him. Also, David Ajabo for the
yeah.
Ravens. Yeah, that speaking of that Ravens defense, that front seven. Can he come in as a rookie? Didn't play as much, working back from that injury that he suffered at his pro day. What does he do now in year 2? He was a raw player to begin with, but all kinds of potential.
Mhm.
Think about that Ravens pass rush. Who's going to step up? Could it be Ojabo? So he's definitely in that mix. And then Jerome Ford for the Browns.
Yeah,
Nick Chubb, his name's on the movie poster, and for a reason. Arguably the best back in the league, but Ford, he's going to be part of that
he's
offense. He's
also
going to have,
starring and
yeah,
featuring
exactly, right,
and
exactly.
introducing Jerome Ford. Yeah,
The movie doesn't happen without him. The movie just
right.
doesn't work
Yeah,
without Jerome Ford part of that. And so
yeah,
I'm interested to see his role. There's a reason, they had no interest in bringing Kareem Hunt back.
exactly.
They believe Jerome Ford can fill that role. And so hopefully, Nick Chubb starts all 17 games and we don't have to worry about Ford starting any games for the Browns. But if pressed into action, I think the Browns feel really comfortable with what he can give them.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that they didn't bring back Hunt or Deaners Johnson, and it's
Right.
like the fact both were tangibly good players and knew the system, all those types of things that you usually want when you re-sign a guy, and they're like, no, we're going with this guy. It's like, oh, okay. And I like Jerome Farmer. I think I had a third round grade on him when he was coming out. A little stiff hip, but he's got some juice and size. He can catch the ball. He's good on screens.
Mhm.
I know that I just fell in love with everybody in that Cincinnati offense. It was him, Alec Pierce, Desmond Ritter, Josh Wiley this year. It's like, God,
Oh, yeah.
maybe just something about that offense was really clicking for me. But I love that he shouted him out. The other guys I had for my honorable mentions on this were other. I just said Ravens first rounders from last year,
Yeah.
Linderbaum and Kyle Hamilton. Both were good players, I thought, and really got better in the second half of the year. Hamilton, especially when they put him in the
Mhm.
slot, they kind of calmed him down a little bit. They're moving him back, so we'll see how he affects the game there. But I think those two are going to settle in and really be plus players this year. That's why they were first round picks at their spots. So second year players now. This is the last little one for the AFC North. Who had a better first year amongst second year players than people realized during the rookie year?
I'm gonna stick with the Browns here and go Martin Emerson.
Yeah, nice.
I think it was a little too hard on him during the draft process. I liked his ability and aggressiveness. He did not have elite speed. That bothered me. He ran 4.5 at the combine and the pro day. And then he just didn't have ball production in college. And that's another thing that bugged me with him. But the Browns drafted him much earlier than I thought he'd go. And I think they were right to take him in the third round where they took him. Among all NFL cornerbacks last season who saw at least 80 targets, Emerson had the second lowest reception percentage allowed, only behind James Bradbury. So, despite all those targets, he didn't have an interception as a rookie. So, it kind of the ball skill question.
Is that a trend or?
Right. They kind of followed him to the NFL. So it's still a concern, something he needs to address. I don't know. He's a guy that ranked top 5 of the Browns in snaps played on defense last year. And guys get banged up in that secondary with Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome. He's just going to be a valuable part of the back end for Cleveland, regardless of, who's out there and the roles they play. I think he had a better rookie season than most realize.
Yep. No, that's a great call. One of the ones that made my short list, I kind of even quasi mentioned him as a breakout player on our AFC North preview pod for when we were talking about the Browns. Between him and Cam Taylor-Britt, the corner for the Bengals, second rounder, those are the two. Both could just list off the stats. Like you said, they both ranked highly in advanced metrics. Eye test, they both looked the part and played well. I'm with you on Emerson. I liked him, but I think the same things with you where it's just like, he was an idea more than a player coming out of Mississippi State. So like seeing him now, it's like, oh, okay. You actually playing in that division that's needed. That's he's going to play the Bengals twice a year, or the Browns are going to play the Bengals twice a year with their big receivers. They're going to play George Pickens that we just mentioned twice a year. So having a guy with size along with their other DBs, I really like that. And I just want to give a shout out to Jalen Warren.
That was mine. Honorable mention too.
Undrafted rookie running back, man. Fun player. He is so up my alley as a football player. Just awesome at pass protection, pass catcher, tough, just does everything well. Oh yeah, sign me up, Jalen Warren. I'm buying all the stock of Jalen Warren. He's a good player for that.
Yeah. Steelers. Well, if you listen to Twitter, he's the starter over Najee Harris, which obviously isn't going to happen. But hey, he's a nice secondary option. He really is, and especially catching the ball out of the backfield. He had second most catches among rookie running backs last year. And so for an undrafted free agent, pretty good production.
Yeah, I was watching them last year in preseason and he was already like awesome in pass protection. I was like, who the hell is this little guy? Like this little running back for the Steelers. I was like, I don't remember this guy. And I was like, oh, he's an undrafted rookie, but yeah, he's a good player. I think you're right though. Over Najee Harris, not so much. It's still that kind of probably going to be a 75-25 split between the two, but he's a really, really fun player. All right, now getting to the rookies for the AFC North. Who is a rookie, first round rookie that you're most excited to watch?
This answer kind of has to be Zay Flowers.
Yes, it's Zay Flowers.
It's just because the Browns didn't have a first rounder, and the Steelers and the Bengals, both their first round picks, they're going to be backups. There were more picks for 2024 and beyond, right? Yes. So Flowers, he's going to play from day one. He's going to bring a lot of energy to that offense. He's so good at getting open quickly. We saw it last night, the opening drive against Washington, slow release from that bunch formation, that suddenness, that short area quickness to the flat, and then the athleticism takes over. Make a guy miss, follows blocks in the end zone. So it's going to be interesting to see how much of a 3-level threat he is for this offense, if they even ask him to be that. But he's going to see a lot of quick targets, a lot of catch and run opportunities, and it'll be fun to see how his role evolves in that offense.
Yeah, I said by default it has to be Zay Flowers, just what you laid out there. I'm excited to see him and really this passing attack with Todd Monken, Zay Flowers, OBJ, and Rashad Bateman. All of them can create some yak with the ball in their hands, which I think is interesting with how I think Monken will use Lamar and the passing attack. So I like the synergy of it all. Like you said, as the intermediate, kind of short intermediate guy, they kind of have 3 of those in a weird way, like these short intermediate route runner types. So he has a little bit more play strength than maybe I gave him credit for, but again, it's preseason, so we'll see. But he's smaller, so I'm never going to always bump those guys up too much. But no, he's got some real juice though. Like he really does. And he's a lot of fun with the ball in his hands. So yeah, easy tout there. So getting maybe a little bit more interesting, non-first round rookies that can make the biggest impact the AFC North.
There are some interesting names here. Andre Yeshivas, the Bengals receiver, I think could play a part if one of those starters goes down with an injury. Cedric Tillman, same thing with the Browns. there's not really a path for him to start right now, but at some point this season, I feel like we're going to see him in some type of role. Joey Porter Jr. with the Steelers. I think I'm going to go Nick Herbig with the Steelers, who has had a nice. I don't know if you've heard of. He's from Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. It's not Nate Herbig. It's Nick Herbig.
Younger brother, right?
Yeah.
With past Wisconsin linebacker, we'll call him a linebacker, but it's just, where do you play him? Because pass rusher in college and a really good pass rusher, but okay, what does he do on early downs? What does he do when you ask it? Can you ask him to cover? Can you ask him to play in space? It just, there's a kind of the confusion that where do you play him, and can you trust him in these different situations? And so there's still a lot we have to figure out with Nick Herbig, but I know he can get after the quarterback. You see the bend, you see the flexibility, the quickness around the edge. So I think even though his role might not be totally defined from day one, he's going to get some of those pass rushing snaps on obvious passing downs. And, if he finishes his senior or his rookie year with, 7 sacks, would it be all that surprising? I don't think so.
Especially the other juice that they have with those pass rushers and that front that the Steelers have. It's awesome. I mean, him, and then the Badgers had another guy that the Saints drafted, Zach Baun.
Zach Baun,
remember him? But it's like these undersized guys. I was like, am I going crazy? I felt like we had this discussion about the same player, but it's Herbig. He was a hell of a player. Everything you laid out there. I'm going with a different Wisconsin Steelers rookie, and that's Keanu Benton, the second round pick. Who both of these guys have a great rookie seasons, or rookie preseasons, I should say. High on both of them coming out, anyways. Of course, as a Wisconsin fan, Benton is seriously, and I say this half jokingly, but dead serious actually, is that he was my favorite Wisconsin player to watch over the last 3-4 years. Ever since he got there, he made an impact on almost every game I watched. So I think Benton's gonna be a good player for them. Their front's gonna be outstanding. Their defense is gonna be outstanding. So really,
how's Pittsburgh using him so far?
3 tech, and then they had him bump inside a little bit against the Bucks, but it was just they're slanting them all the time, and just they're using him as a mauler. It's like they're not two gapping him or anything. It's just go. So which I think is best for him. I liked him because he could. I figured he could maybe do both, but I think he would get unlocked as a go and mauler, go hit the gap and go. So they're using him a little bit like that right now, but kind of
when he's forced to be that nose, right, for the Badgers defense. And it's like
it's an attacking nose as opposed to a plugger.
Right, exactly. But it just felt like if he has a chance to get those one-on-one opportunities, attack gaps, he has the athleticism to do it, and he's still a young player. And he's that ability to play some different spots up front. It'll be interesting how they use their personnel, because he gives you that little bit of versatility. And I was surprised that he fell a little bit further than I thought he would, but he's a really good player.
I thought he'd go earlier in the second. I know I was super high on him. I thought he was basically DT2 after Carter. But it was but he is how they're using him is perfect. And I just think also the help he's going to get with like Cam Hayward next to him, like it's just a perfect kind of combo. You got the Ironhead Hayward, and then you got him as kind of the mauler attacker. So I think also didn't he like in the Senior Bowl like tore it up in like pass rushing drills, and everyone's like, oh yeah, he can shoot the
one-on-ones. He dominated.
So all right, so going on to the AFC South now. We'll start with the second year players again. Second year players with the most approved in the AFC South. I think there's one with a bullet that that kind of stands out to me.
There's no shortage of candidates though, because you have
there's not.
Traylon Burks needs to make a leap in Tennessee.
First round pick.
Yeah, same thing from Kenyon Green, guard at Houston. But I mean, the answer has to be Travon Walker, right? There's certain expectations that come with being the number 1 overall pick, and especially when that number 2 pick was the best pass rushing rookie last year in Aiden Hutchinson, someone who I know for a fact several members of that Jaguars front office wanted to draft at number 1. And I don't want to paint a picture here that Walker was bad last season. He wasn't. He had 10 fewer pressures than Hutchinson. So but you saw flashes. I think it was always expected that it was going to take time, because he was a traits-based pick, remarkable size speed athlete, best footballs in front of him. Okay, well, it's time for that investment to start paying off a little bit more in year 2. So he had decent pressure numbers last year. The biggest thing was the pass rush efficiency was below average on a per snap basis. And the Jaguars, they ranked 26th in the league in sacks. So the advanced metrics are a little bit better with their ability to get hurries and pressures, but the Jaguars still need Walker to take that another jump here in year 2.
Yep. Everything you just laid out. Yeah. I kind of started the same place. I said, pick a first rounder. And I was like, it has to be Walker because the Jags view themselves as legitimately, and I agree with it, as a playoff team, and they need pass rush help. They really only brought back one plus pass rusher, and that's Josh Allen. The other one is Smoot has a torn Achilles. Arden Key is gone. And that was like really the only ones that had an above average pressure rate last year. I think Walker is right about average, but as a number 1 pick, you just need to be better than average, not better than just a nice role player. And I think really watching Walker this year, it's like November onwards is like really when I want to focus on him. Once they have their bye week, I'm not sure when their bye week is. After that, I want to see if he makes a push and becomes a true force. Because there's like you mentioned, it wasn't like he was bad. It's just that you expect more out of that pedigree. And there's a playoff game where he's dominating a tight end that tries to block him. It's like, okay, but do that every time as opposed to the once a game. So I'm right there with you. I think Walker's the easy answer here.
And it's funny because a lot of his pass rush metrics are similar to Kayvon Thibodeau. And so, if you take Travon Walker and switch where they were drafted with Kayvon Thibodeau, like how differently we think about the two players, just because of 7 picks and, but it's just when you're that number 1 overall pick, it just comes with this weight to it that you have to live up to, and fair or not, it's reality. And so it'll be interesting to see that next step that he takes this year.
And that's how first rounders kind of go. It's like number 1 pick and then non-number 1 overall pick first rounders. Like you could be pick 5 or pick 25. And it's like, well, you're a first rounder. And that number 1 pick's the only one that gets that kind of special designation when you talk about it, but it does matter. I know that some of it's just narrative, but nope, it does matter.
And even his teammate, Devin Lloyd, another first round pick.
That's another one.
High highs, low lows as a rookie. So better consistency out of him. And then I wanted to mention Christian Harris, linebacker from Houston, who is a 3rd round pick. So not first round expectations, but he put some bad stuff on tape as a run defender last year. Late with his fits, struggling to work off blocks. The tackling was okay, not great. So just better things from Christian Harris this year in year 2.
That's a good shout out. My Robert's very high on the Texans defense, so he'll have to watch some Christian Harris as well. So all right, so 2nd-year players that you think are ready to take a big step in the AFC South.
So this is again another, I think, a little bit crowded. Guys that could potentially break out. I'm going to go with Chig Okonkwo, the Titans tight end.
Nice.
Led all rookie tight ends in receiving yards, receiving touchdowns last year. And now with Austin Hooper gone, Jeff Swaim's gone, a lot more targets going to Chig. And no team in the NFL played with more multiple tight end sets than Tennessee last season. A large part of that is, the rushing offense they want to be. But there's no reason why Okonkwo shouldn't be top 15 tight end in the NFL this season. I think he's going to see the targets and he has the ability. So I top 15 tight end, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes that jump this year.
It actually, I think, usually when someone gets added like a DeAndre Hopkins and everyone's like, well, that's going to eat all the targets and everything. It's like, I actually think that'll help a guy like Chig because it's just going to loosen up things for him. He's so great on the move. I kind of underestimated his ability, like truly how good of an athlete he is. I know he tested well and everything, but even his college film, I was like, he's a tweener. And I don't know, like you can maybe get a Jonnu Smith type out of him, but it's like, I think he has even more potential than Jonnu showed with the Titans, which is saying something. So I think that's a great shout out.
You going with the Colts player?
No, I wanted to, but I can't become a total caricature myself. I can't stop talking. Alec Pierce has gotten like 40.
I was going to say, the Colts have like multiple guys. Bernard Raymond,
I know.
Alec Pierce, Jelani Woods. I figured you go Pierce.
I almost did. He's my second mention, but my first one is Derek Stingley, corner for the Texans. Not crazy, top 5 pick, but had flashes, but also flashes in a defense that wasn't very conducive to what I think his skill set is. From a Lovie Smith defense to now going to D'Amico Ryan's defense, and I think, I mean, honestly, I had him and Sauce graded the same going into last year. I thought it was 1A, 1B. Sauce obviously has hit the ground, set a really high bar on his
Got a
rookie
head
year.
start.
And yeah, bit of a head start. But Stingley was playing well last year and then kind of got banged up and then maybe not the best defense for him. And I want to see him in this defense, a little more aggressive defense, a defense that lets him really man defend, man cover a lot of these outside receivers. And I think, he's got some traits, some ball skills, some size. He's just been banged up, and that's been his biggest thing. But I'm ready. I think he's ready to take a big step because I already thought he was a solid player as a rookie, which is saying something at that position. So want to see where he can live up to that draft type. I think he can, where it's like, Sauce again is going to set a high bar, but I think Stingley can kind of maybe not come near it, but at least be a good player in his second year.
Yeah, staying on the field, that's got to be first and foremost, because he was hurt his last 2 years at LSU, hurt last year. Can he stay on the field? And that was part of the reason why he was my third corner that year. I like Trent McDuffie over him. I worried about the durability, but the ability is there. It's just, can he stay on the field? So staying healthy, if he can do that, that goes a long way into living up to where the Texans drafted him.
Absolutely. All right. So now other second-year player accolades here, or superlatives. Is second-year player who had a better first year than most people realized in the AFC South.
So I'm going to go with give the centers a little bit of love here. It wasn't always perfect, but Luke Fortner,
nice,
for the Jaguars. He started all 17 games, regular season games at center, and then he started both playoff games. And I thought he more than held his own. There were 18 rookie offensive linemen who played at least 700 snaps last year. Fortner was the only one to allow 2 or fewer sacks. So, he's smart. He's assignment sound. The best way to put it, he rides out the storm. And I graded him as an NFL starter. So that part's not very surprising, but I just don't think you hear a lot of Luke Fortner conversations going on. And I think he put together a pretty solid first year.
No, absolutely. That's a great shout out. There's a game I really want to say was against the Colts early in the year, and they had a bust, and it wasn't. When I rewatched it, I was like, okay, it's probably a rookie center. A lot of the guys aren't going to be wrong here. He was the one that was right, and he's talking on the film. You can see him talking to Brandon Scherf, and it's like, you got a rookie center telling a guy that's been paid a lot of money and started a lot of games, and he's correcting him. And I was like, ooh. Yeah. There we go. You don't really see that all too often, but center has to be the leader of that in that room. And that's that's a great shout out. I had a couple here. I really want to narrow it down, but I'm going to go Roger McCreary, corner for the Titans, second rounder. Way better than I ever thought he could be. And he did it as a rookie. I thought he was a nice, solid player. There's a couple games where he got torched a little bit. Maybe some not the greatest matchups, and maybe just also some scheme stuff and other guys getting knocked down or injured. But yeah, good player. Really, really high on him, and I think he can keep ascending as a good starter in this league. And yeah, I'm pretty high on the Titans defense overall. But I have 2 other DBs actually in my little short list. Jalen Petrie, but I think he got a little bit of hype, but he was so disruptive. Such a fun player. I think plenty of people realize that one. And the last one I'm going to throw out there is from the Colts is Rodney Thomas, their 7th round Yale draft pick that played safety for them. But yeah, solid. Already played some flashes of like plus play, solid play last year. I don't think he's going to be a star or anything, but I think if you can get a 7th rounder that can actually be a solid starter, that's a win. And yeah, already was showing that as a rookie.
Just to piggyback on your Roger McCreary, I think you're absolutely right. He led Tennessee in snaps on defense last year. He gave up 7 touchdowns as a rookie, but only 1 came in the slot. And it sounds like that's going to be his full-time position here coming up this year. And that's probably what fits his skill set the best. And so I think he could be in for a really nice year too. So that's a great shout out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. He was on the outside. He was okay. It was just, I've been joking about this, is that sometimes corners are like pitchers where the guy could throw 90 pitches and they've given up no runs, and then he just gets blasted for a 450-foot home run just because of one. That's what corners sometimes can be, and that's what happened.
Same thing with offensive linemen, right?
Yes.
You remember the 2 or 3
one bad play,
more so than no question.
I know with McCreary, it's like he got dunked on a couple times. It's like, no, he's good though. He's a solid player. But going into rookies here for the AFC South, first round rookie you're most excited to watch. There's a couple fun ones here.
I mean, we got to do the 2 quarterbacks, right?
That's where I was.
I think, I'm excited to see how Skoronski does at guard, helping anchor that Titans offensive line. Same thing with Anton Harrison in Jacksonville, a guy that is pretty young, and I think ideally you'd ease him into that starting role, but the Jaguars need him to grow up quickly with Cam Robinson suspended. And then Will Anderson in Houston. They're betting on him. Obviously, they invested a lot with the trade up. They're betting on him becoming that cornerstone of the defense, what Nick Bosa is for the 49ers or Myles Garrett is for Cleveland. He's so twitchy. He's so skilled. We should see him jump off the tape pretty quickly from day one. It's got to be the quarterback. CJ Stroud, Houston, Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. Pretty surprised if we know Anthony Richardson's going to start. We expect CJ Stroud to start. What does this season look like for both these guys? Two teams that we don't expect either to be competing for playoffs, but we want to see progression. You want to see these guys hit the ground running, limit mistakes, develop. So what do we see from the first round quarterbacks? It makes both of these teams worth watching this year, and that's not something you could really say about the Texans and Colts last year. You avoided watching those teams, but with Stroud and Richardson, they're must-see TV now.
It really, especially the Colts for me. It's just with their Steichen and just with every other offensive pieces, Alec Pierce, going with Richardson, some of the other young guys that they have. But that was my answer too. It has to be the quarterbacks, Richardson and Stroud, and just especially for the Texans team that even for my work for this podcast and writing about it, I feel like I haven't had to talk about them for 2 years. And so it's so nice to talk about them in positive ways and all these players to highlight, and starts with the quarterback and Will Anderson as well. But those guys have to be up there, and just really excited to watch them develop, especially Richardson, especially second half of the year. But even seeing like Stroud from the first preseason game to the second preseason game and already seeing growth, it's like, like rookie quarterbacks can be a lot of fun to watch when you watch these kind of steps, ups and downs that they go through. So
progression, right?
Progression. This is the next. It's never linear. So I'm very excited to watch those two. So how about the non-first round rookies that you think could make the biggest impact?
A couple of these receivers are interesting. Tank Dell in Houston, Josh Downs.
This one had me squinting a bit. I'm not going to lie for this division. This one had me squinting.
Even a guy like Tank Bigsby, if he gets a lot of those carries in the red zone. But I'm going with Darius Rush, corner in Indianapolis. I liked him quite a bit as a prospect. Actually, I liked him better than Cam Smith, his South Carolina teammate who was drafted before him. I think the Colts got a steal with him in the 5th round. But he's my pick out of pure opportunity. You look at the Colts secondary, that outside cornerback spots, they're up for grabs. Rush is 6'2", 200 pounds, premier athlete. Ran in the 4.3s in the 40. Love his fluidity. He's long. He can run with receivers. They're going to be rough patches, and just with any corner. His route anticipation needs to continue and develop, but I'll bet on those athletic traits and size. And again, the opportunity that could be there. This is a guy that has yet to play his best football. I really believe that his ceiling could be solid NFL starter, and he might be able to reach that ceiling at some point this year.
That's awesome. No, that's a great shout. They might have two rookie corners starting for him between him and Brents, which is they're a very interesting team. I know for this category. I like you mentioned Tank Bigsby and Tajay, maybe even Tajay Spears for the Titans. I just said the 3rd round running back duo between those two. Starter gets hurt or their role is expanded. Bigsby. They both have had nice preseasons, so they look like they got drafted, I think, right where they should have. So it all makes sense. For me, I just kind of threw a dart throw out here, and I went Yasir Abdullah from the edge from the Jags. He had a nice game against the Cowboys I watched, but also they need some pass rush help. They got to find it, and he might hit. And he's super undersized, but he's got some twitch. So just maybe he gets that 5 sacks this year as some day 3 rookie that go out there, make a biggest impact. But that's the one I'm going to tout. He had some underlying metrics that were positive about him coming out. So that's a guy that have to throw it out there because they need it.
He was fun to watch at Louisville. So no, that's a great shout out.
All right, now moving on to the West as we migrate to the West here. 2nd-year players with the most to prove in the AFC West.
I'm going with Zion Johnson, the Chargers guard. A lot of people, including myself, loved him coming out of Boston College. He was my top-ranked guard in the class. Strong college tape. He was great at the Senior Bowl. Generally viewed as a plug-and-play type. Double-digit starts at left tackle, right tackle, left guard in college. So, of course, the Chargers asked him to play right guard, a position he never really played before. And the results were rocky, especially in pass protection. But Following our Chargers reporter, Daniel Popper, it sounds like Zion's moving to left guard full time this season, which I think should make a big difference for him in year 2.
Yeah, no, that was the exact player I had too. I had Zion
Okay.
Johnson. Yeah, and he battled some injuries, the offensive line falling apart around him. Like that's
Right.
tough. That's tough for any
Right.
rookie. Even a guy that I thought his floor was super high. Like it was
Yeah.
like this guy is solid at the very least. Like yeah, like does he become a star? Who knows? But it's like I mean, you could picture it. It was easy. But I was right there with you. I actually thought mentally, I was kind of a little disappointed because he has a little bit more MEs and mental errors than maybe I was missed assignments that I was expecting
Mhm.
as a rookie. But then watch him in the preseason, way better. So going to the left side, probably some calmness around him, not shuffling parts and different guys he's communicating with every week helps so much. And they're also using him as a puller a lot, and he is fantastic as
He
a
can do
puller.
that. Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
he can. So maybe Kellen Moore, some competency as a play caller, getting him in the right spot. I think the arrow's still pointing up for him. So, but he still
Yeah.
has to prove that high position, especially we talked about this with Walker and Aiden Hutchinson too. Zion Johnson, the guard that got drafted after him was Tyler Smith, who's playing
Mhm.
well. So it's like,
Yeah.
that's always going to just kind of crop up when you talk about these types of positions. But still
And
goes second.
I'll
Oh yeah.
talk about another Chargers offensive lineman here in a little bit, but just having
Same.
Rashawn Slater back,
Yes.
that's just going to make a world difference on that
Yeah.
line as a whole. One honorable mention for this category, JT Woods.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Chargers, he was a third rounder. So again, not a super high pick, but someone that I think belongs in this category most to prove because the Chargers need him. No more
Yes, they do.
Nasir Adderley. I think Alohi Gilman's probably going to be the starter opposite Derwin James, but he's been banged up. Never really been a plus player, especially in coverage. Woods will get his chances this year, and
Yeah.
he doesn't need to be a Pro Bowler, but can he give the Chargers quality snaps, which might be a lot to ask considering he really didn't play last year as a rookie, but that's what they need out of him. So I think
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to prove from JT Woods.
No, that's a good one. Yeah, definitely a good one, especially with that defense likes asks a lot of their safeties. So
Right.
that's another thing too. It's like if he does have a role, it's gonna be a huge role because of what they do. But second year players that you think are gonna take a big step this year. I have one team I know I'm focusing on, but I want to hear what you say here.
Is the Chiefs?
Yeah, because I have
Okay,
about
yeah.
20 guys I could name off here.
I know. I say,
But
which guy did you go with as
I
the
went
main guy?
Carl Office
Okay.
is that the Greek freak is.
Yeah.
I'll just get my one stat out and then let you cook. But had the same pressure rate last year as Alex Highsmith and Robert Quinn, but also had a bunch of PBUs. Getting his hands on the ball, solid against the run. He really came into his own second half of the year. Kind of settled in a little bit, but I think he's a good player. I think still my upside with him is maybe a high end number 2.
Mhm.
But as a pass rusher, just kind of a nice 3-down guy. But I think I like that defensive front this year. They have Chris Jones, obviously, but Menahu they signed, their first round pick, FAU. I'm not saying his full name, Felix Ndike Uzama.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I actually like him a lot. I think he could do some damage as
Mhm.
a kind of a designated pass rusher type. But yeah, so I went with Carl Office among the 5 Chiefs second year players. I narrowed it down to.
I was gonna say, yeah, we could have said Brian Cook,
Yep.
core special teamer last year. It,
Yep.
it played a lot of
And
defense,
played a
but
lot at the end of the year. Yeah.
yeah, Juan Thornhill's now gone, so
Yep.
Cook needs to step up. And then Sky Moore, I somewhat of a pre-draft darling for a lot of people, including myself. I think it's top 40 for me in that class. But last year was a learning year for him.
Oh yeah.
And then not a huge surprise. He was an underclassman. He played in the MAC, so a learning curve was expected.
Played
But
in
I'll
a
bet
very
on
simple offense going to an
yeah,
Andy Reid
exactly.
40-word play call offense. Yeah, that's a big jump.
Yeah, exactly. So I think at the end of the day, you're going to bet on the ball skills, the athleticism
Yeah,
to make him more of a weapon this
they
year.
like him too.
Yeah, right. And I think there's opportunity there. You look at the wide receiver depth chart, and there are plenty of talented guys, but who's going to step up? We'll see if Sky Moore can do that. I went with Leo Chanel.
Yeah,
Speaking of
nice.
Wisconsin defensive
Love this.
players, yeah, he played really well over the
He
final
did.
month and a half of his
Yep.
rookie year. Exceptional instincts downhill versus the run. Love his ability to key and diagnose. That was the MO on him coming out of college. The big question: could he hold up in coverage? Can he be that any down backer? And really, I think the only thing that could stop him from having a breakout sophomore year this upcoming season It's just the depth at linebacker that the
That's
Chiefs
it.
have. Nick Bolton doesn't come off the field. They added Drew Tranquill. Willie
Mhm.
Gay is still there. So
Mhm.
I'm definitely a fan of Chenal and what he can do. And if he gets the chance, I think he could be that breakout for the Chiefs.
Love that. He was exceptional in the playoffs, especially the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, he usually a big issue that Spagnuolo's had, Steve Spagnuolo, defense coordinator for the Chiefs, has had is that when they get into a three linebacker look, they're very basic. You can take advantage of it. Chanel, like single-handedly wiped that away. Like, because he was just so good against the run and such a better athlete, could set the edge. And honestly, in the preseason, it looks exactly the same. So great shout out, not only because he's a Badger, but he's a hell of a player. Like, and that what you're talking about with the coverage stuff that was one of the like everyone's favorite fits last year was Leo Chanel to the Patriots because it
Right.
was just plugger downhill, like go get him. But he's a better athlete than I think people realize. And it's
Yeah.
not just
And
these
he was off a lot of boards around the league because
interesting.
it just didn't fit exactly
Yeah.
what they want at that position. And that's why he fell out of the top 100. This guy was an easy
Such a good
top
player.
60, top 75 player
Yeah.
in terms of you're just going to rank the players in a generic way. But because he doesn't meet to a T what a lot of teams are looking
Yeah.
for at linebacker, he just wasn't on their board. And so the Chiefs ended up getting a steal at pick 103.
That did.
Yeah.
No, but we're talking about their depth. It's such a great point, though. But all right, now, so second year player who had a better first year than most people realized. There's probably a couple Chiefs players here you can mention too, but
Sure.
I think we might mention the same guy here. So I'm actually curious what you say.
Jamari Sawyer from
Yes,
the
it is.
Chargers. Yes. I mean, this was the most surprising slip
So
in the
surprising.
draft. I mean, you and I, we were sitting together watching the
Yeah.
day 3 of the draft that year, and
You kept mentioning him as like one of your best players remaining, and
yeah,
it was just
why
like we felt like there forever.
the 4th round's over, and
Yeah,
why is he still at the 5th round? What is going on? He lasted until the mid 6th round.
still don't
He
get
was my
that.
number 54 overall player in the draft, a mid 2nd round pick.
I had a third round
He
grade on him,
Yeah,
so it's
he
like
was
I'm right there
a
with you.
left tackle for Georgia's national championship team. And look, he wasn't an elite athlete or anything as a prospect, but this is the type of guy you trust the tape.
Yeah,
He played in the SEC. He gave up only one career sack. It was to Will Anderson, perfectly excusable. So
totally
it's not
fine.
like you had a big projection with him in terms of competition. Now, is he super explosive? No, but you love the body control.
Yep.
I specifically loved how
Hands.
he stays centered through
Yeah.
contact, and that allows him to ride the bull and stay connected and just lose slowly. So the Chargers got him way later than I thought he should have gone. They drafted him as a guard, which I think that's his best long term
Yep.
position.
Yep.
But then Rashawn Slater's hurt, and Sawyer steps up, and he's the starting left tackle. And I thought he did a pretty nice
He
job
did.
protecting Justin Herbert's blind side. So he did more to, I think, earn the confidence of that team, that offense, and sounds like he'll be the starting right guard
Yep.
this year for the Chargers. So I think they absolutely found a steal in the 6th round. Just I don't know, so very very surprised he lasted as far as he did.
I'm right there with you. Had a day 2 grade on him, and when he sometimes I've learned, especially being on the media side, is when a guy falls, it's like, all right, there's something I don't know about him. But when
Mhm.
you are going like, I don't get it either, that makes me go like, okay, I'm not a total fool. But watching him last year, when he had to start at left tackle, I was like, okay, this might not end well. And just everything you just said, he was a solid left tackle in the NFL as a 6th round rookie who wasn't even supposed to be drafted as a tackle.
Right.
That's so notable. So they're bumping him to guard, and the fact that he can provide depth at the tackle spots is not a negative. That is such a positive that he can at least be tolerable there. So great shout out, and really makes you more optimistic about this Chargers offensive line that you probably have been in a
Right.
while, especially if they can get Slater back and healthy. Because remember, he was an All-Pro as a rookie, so pretty interesting offensive line with actually some talent. So yeah, great shout out. I totally agree. That's my pick as well. My
Yeah.
other one was Jalen Watson, 7th round rookie for the
Good
Chiefs,
one.
who was a fine starting corner as a 7th round rookie. But
Yeah.
going into rookies, 1st round rookie for the AFC West that you're most excited to watch.
So I'm going with Quentin Johnston. I think that the Chargers, they drafted him in the 1st round for his big play potential at receiver. More so the big play potential than the polish, right? Like he's not the seasoned player, but how will his role change throughout the season? He's an awesome size speed athlete, bursts at the top of his routes after the catch. He can make guys miss. I think we'll see plenty of, curls. We'll see plenty of runway routes. We'll see, any opportunity to get the ball in his hand so he can show off that pull away gear, the run instincts. So how does Quentin Johnston fit? I thought, Robert made a great comparison on
It was such a
last
good
year.
one.
Yeah, in the lead up to the draft, one that I did not consider. But when he said it and you think about it for 5 seconds, you're like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense with Brandon Ayuk as a player comp. They're not.
Me and you were stunned. We both sat in silence for a second. We're like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, no, because again, stylistically, it fits. Like size,
Yeah.
speed's a little different, and so if you
raw, but
you line up some of the numbers, it doesn't necessarily fit, but stylistically, the way they win, what you like most about them as a player, it's like, yeah, that's why we're drafting him, and I think that's why the Chargers made him their first round pick.
Yep, they needed juice. I mean, at their
Right.
pass catchers, he's my answer too. I have one other guy I'll mention in a sec, but he has juice that they haven't had with their pass catchers. Like he is more the guy's still there, but he's more of a replacement for what Gerald Everett has done in that offense than maybe a receiver has done. Everett's still there, don't get me wrong, but crossers, digs, in breakers, catching all that. You have your ball winner in Mike Williams, and then you have your crafty route runner in Keenan Allen, who's moving to slot a bunch. You need a yak guy, and this is your yak guy, but he's built differently than most yak guys are. We picture the 5'9" Tweety Bird types. This guy, no, is a monster. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm just very interested to see. I know even in preseason and practice I saw they're trying to use him vertically, and his ball tracking is inconsistent. I'll put it that way.
Yes.
Sometimes the ball tracking there, but his catch and run ability is
showed at college. It showed in the preseason. Like it's
carried over.
Yes, right.
There's been no like, oh, I missed that. It's like, nope, that's exactly what he looked like.
Right. No surprise there. The other thing too, like we mentioned, there were 4 receivers taken in a row there in that late first round with JSN, but then the Chargers took Quentin Johnston. The 2 guys taken right after him, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison. So how and you could have made a case for Zay Flowers or Addison to be in that role for the Chargers. So how each one of these receivers plays as rookies, and we compare the two. It'll be interesting to see.
It will be.
At midseason, end of season, how all those receivers play out.
That's what's kind of fun too, is especially where a lot of these receivers are getting picked in the 20s. It's like usually they're getting drafted to be number 2s, like or like with maybe some potential. So it's kind of fun too. It's like that's where you can see some eye of the beholder and team fit stuff too. But my other rookie that I had was Felix Anudike Uzama, the edge for the Chiefs, because I just want to say his name one more time. But had a nice first preseason game against the Saints. I don't think he kind of really showed up in the box score, but like watching him on film, kind of what you expected. Run game was a little inconsistent, but he was better than I was expecting. But had some real pass rush juice with some good hand usage. He had some some polish, which he showed in college as well. But I'm interested to watch him, because I think on a Chiefs team that where a lot of offenses are going to be passing against them, like they needed a guy that bendy DPR designated pass rusher type, and I think he can do that. I'm high on him, higher than I thought I was, maybe even when I first watched him, like in February. So those are first round guys. I know, but there's a couple teams or team without first rounders, so that kind of limits that scope. But so non first round rookies in the AFC West that you think could make the biggest impact.
So I thought about going with another TCU receiver going to the Chargers, and Darius Davis, who they took in the 4th round.
He's on my short list.
Oh yeah, I mean, punt returns, whatever kind of gadget way they find to get him the ball. Darius Davis, one of the fastest players in the draft, so I will hear his name come up this year. There's no doubt about it.
He'll take one back this year.
I agree.
That's a bold. It shouldn't be a bold take, but it sounds like a bold take, but it should be. I think he takes one back this year.
I think Marvin Mims from Denver, even with their depth chart, wide receiver depth chart, I think we could see some. He'll make some noise this year as a rookie. I'm going to go with Aiden O'Connell though, quarterback for the Raiders. I really liked him coming out of Purdue. He's just a guy that's going to play in the NFL the next 10 years. And I'll tell you what, this year, if he wins more games as a starter than Jimmy Garoppolo, that really be surprising? I don't think so. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be a legit long-term option, but he can come in and help win games. He's shown it this preseason. He showed it on tape at Purdue. He'll push the football. He's really smart. He reads coverage as well, stares down the gun barrel. He's really tough. And he's an older guy, but I think that's a positive. I mean, he's a mature guy, ready to, step into NFL life. He's just the type of guy you want in your quarterback room. So again, I'm not saying that Aiden O'Connell is the answer for the long term for this team, but if he wins more games as a starter than Jimmy Garoppolo this season, I won't be surprised.
I totally get what you're saying. You mean Jimmy G, who barely passed his physical on like his 10th try
Right.
too.
Right.
So was with an iffy offensive line standing in front of him. I no, that's a great shot. He's looked great this preseason. The
Yeah.
tape against the 49ers was like clinic tape as far as like where he was mentally and just progression wise. It was exactly what you want to see in a guy with his first NFL experience. So good shout out. I almost want to do Michael Mayer, the Raiders second round
Mhm.
pick, because it's just right away. He looks exactly how we thought. And what we talked about in the pre-draft process is he's a better athlete than people realize. And
Yeah.
I tweeted a clip of him stacking a corner, running a go route. And it's like, yeah, I told you guys, he's a good athlete.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Drew Sanders, the linebacker for the Broncos,
Nice.
third rounder. I liked him coming out athletic. He's a good blitzer, and he's going to a defensive coordinator in Vance Joseph, who likes to use his guys in blitzes. So I think they're high on him. Like they're talking about how they're trying to hide his role already because they want to wait until they see in the regular season. A lot of coaches say that about players, so we'll see what actually happens. But I don't know. I think he's going to be a day one starter for them. I think he's going to be a tangible player for them and a defense that should be pretty good. Yeah. So Drew Sanders is for me their third round pick for the Broncos.
That's a great pick. I mean, he went much later than I thought he would. I thought he'd
Yeah.
be a top 40 pick. He's a do everything front seven guy. He's got size, he's got athletic range. He has the ability to be a matchup player. You want him to drop. He can rush and get after the quarterback. It's just he needs to be a little more consistent with as a tackler, with his reads, with his first step, getting off blocks. It's more. It's not that he can't do it. It just needs to be more consistent doing those things. So, but still surprised that he fell as far as he did. And no, that's a good one because wouldn't be surprised if he finds a role pretty quickly. And even if he's not technically a starter, he's going to see plenty of reps in these different personnel packages they use because he's too good to keep off the field for too long.
Yeah. Yeah, I should clarify. Say, even if he's not a day one starter, I should say he's going to be on the field because it seems like they're high on him, and just everything you're laying out there is just that's why. It's like there's going to be some packages where it's not going to be just like, oh, he's playing special teams. It's like he's going to be on the field. They liked him for a reason and took him for a reason. All right, I think that covers it. We got under an hour and a half. I'm pretty proud of that because I was excited getting into this. I had to narrow down my list even as we were talking.
Right.
I was like, I can't hit up 7 guys. So I was sitting here, but I knew you would be the same kind of junky tier as me to make some of these guys off. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a lot of fun for me, and I think Dane as well. We're going to be covering
the NFC.
NFC. Yeah, we're going to be doing this all again with the other conference, the NFC. It's not the junior circuit like we say in National League and the American League for baseball, but it's the senior circuit. But we're going to be talking about the NFC next week, same exact categories, talk about each division. But we'll see. Oh, sorry. How would we do that again? 3, 2, 1. I'll be coming out next Wednesday. As always, Prospects to Pros, and I'll see you guys next time.